There's a new kid in town. The question is, does anybody care? That's this week on Motoring 2003.
TSN's Motoring 2003 is brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil, oils fine-tuned for different engines, and Midas, Total Car Care. We do that.
Buying a new car can be an exciting time. It can also be stressful trying to make the right decision. Car manufacturers have tried to help somewhat by setting up car malls like this one, sort of one-stop shopping. Well, you know, the mall is about to get more cramped and your shopping list a little longer. Why? Well, because Japan's oldest car maker is coming to Canada, and they mean it this time. It was about 4 years ago when Mitsubishi announced they were going to set up shop here in Canada and then changed its mind. Well, they're back, and as we're about to see, they have plans of shaking up the competition.
Well, 4 years ago, when we were planning on coming, we didn't have the right product lineup. We didn't have a Lancer-sized car. And in this marketplace, you absolutely have to have a small car to be able to set up your network from coast to coast. So we weren't ready. We also didn't have the right brand strategy in the U.S., so we've developed that now. We're more than ready, and we know the business strategy works, so we're really excited about Canada. And we're ahead of schedule. We've got 42 dealers that are in business today, and we'll have 46 by the end of the year. And by the end of next year, we'll have 75. So at that point, we'll start having a real critical mass, and we eventually want to get to 150 dealers coast to coast. What we like to say is our products are just a little bit edgier than some of our mainstream competition like Honda and Toyota. So we're that alternative, and we've positioned ourselves that way. We're that spirited car company. You know, we're very confident. We're actually fairly youthful. In fact, 42% of our customers are under the age of 35 in the U.S. That may be a little different in Canada, but certainly there's a youthful appeal to our brand.
A new product, you have a lot more thinking to do. However, we've got a product line that is known, so it makes the investment decision a little bit easier. It's state-of-the-art equipment, good quality vehicles, so the decision-making of that investment is a little bit easier to digest.
The car that's going to do the best in this country is Lancer. It's in that biggest segment in the industry. It's very competitive with the Toyota Corolla, the Honda Civic. And we've had tremendous success in North America so far. We've tripled our market share in that segment. So it's a strong contender. It's high value and low price. So, you know, that really fits in with the needs of Canadians. It's fairly well equipped also. There's a lot of standard equipment in it. I think on the SUV side, the Outlander, which we're just launching in North America now, it's in that hottest, fastest growing segment of the SUV area. And already as they land, they're selling. So we're pretty excited about that. And again, we've got that edgy styling, a little bit different than the RAV4 and the Honda CR-V. So I think those are the two that are going to do very well in this country.
Well, like everybody else, if you try a vehicle, regardless of the brand, you have to have value, dollars, comfort, styling. Even though the product is known, the challenge is to get people in to sit in the vehicle and drive the car. Once they drive it, you're almost assured a sale.
How big of a gamble is this, considering there are so many vehicles out there for consumers to choose from?
Well, we think it's a calculated gamble. You know, we can get our rightful market share in the U.S. We get over 2% of the market. We outsell Mazda. We've done that since 1999. We know these competitors do very well. We know Canadians like Japanese products. So we think that it's a very calculated gamble, but we're going to spend $350 million over the next 5 years investing in this country, and our dealers are going to spend $1.6 billion over the next 5 years, creating 6,400 jobs. So it's a big undertaking. You don't take this lightly. That's why maybe we aborted 4 years, because we weren't ready. This time we're ready, and we're making the investment.
Clark Pender and Jason Spies, we be having a fine time. More later on Kenzie's Corner.
Subaru is celebrating 30 years of all-wheel drive, having launched the Leone, the first mass-produced car to feature four-wheel drive. Well, a part of that celebration involves a totally new vehicle, one that's not car, not truck, nor minivan, nor SUV. Rather, it's just called Baja. For a brief period, Subaru flirted with traction control on some of its front-wheel drive vehicles. However, the powers that be realized the only way forward, at least from a logical perspective, was with nothing other than all-wheel drive, and for that decision I say thank you. As applied to the Baja, there are two all-wheel drive systems, both of which come with a rear limited slip differential. The system hooked up to the base 5-speed manual transmission uses a conventional viscous center coupling to split the power. Moving up the ladder to the automatic transmission puts an electronically controlled center differential in charge of the whole shebang. The lone drawback with the automatic is its infernal shifter gate. The design allows the lever to be shifted through drive and into third gear. Now, unless you realize your mistake, you lose the fuel economy advantages of top gear, and it's overdrive. I've been a huge fan of Subaru's all-wheel drive system, especially when it's married to the automatic transmission. The reason is that it's proactive. For instance, if you nail the gas pedal, rather than waiting for the wheels to start spinning and then the all-wheel drive system hooking up, it automatically hooks it up before you pull away. And it's that makes the biggest difference in our Canadian winters. Riding on McPherson struts up front and the multi-link design in back, the Baja's blend between ride and handling is a good one. On the one hand, the Baja handled the pylon test with minimal fuss, meaning little body roll and limited understeer. It also makes minor off-road excursions a realistic proposition, as the long travel design puts 7.3 inches of ground clearance under the vehicle. That said, the all-season tyres limit just how much of Mother Nature's backyard you can actually explore. The Baja comes with a standard 4-channel, 4-sensor anti-lock brake system. As well as keeping the stops short and straight, the design gets a helping hand from the automatic transmission. When the ABS engages, the transmission selects third gear to reduce the effects of engine braking, which improves an already sure-footed feel. It's at the back here that the Baja makes the biggest difference. First of all, you've got a clean space for the passengers and a dirty space for everything else. Now, if this isn't large enough as it stands, what you've got to do, drop the plate down to keep yourself legal, lower the tailgate, and then flip out this optional bed extender. In this configuration, you've extended the box length by about 30%. Now, if this isn't long enough, then what you have to do is use Subaru's switchback. To operate the switchgate is a simple matter of lifting the seat base up and folding the seat back down. Now, what you've got here is a nice hard surface so you can store stuff back here without damaging the fabric on the seats. The switchback itself is simply a little door. Now you've got just over 7.2 meters from the seat back to that bed extender. Sadly, the opening for the switchback system is not quite large enough. Had Subaru made it about 3 inches wider, the front skis of a snowmobile would have fitted through the opening. As it stands, they won't. According to Subaru, this was done to preserve the body's structural integrity. On a brighter note, the multi-link design of the rear suspension means there is minimal intrusion into the cargo box. If you've sat in a Legacy or an Outback, you've sat inside the Baja, primarily because everything, at least as it holds in the front, is pretty much the same. It's just been bumped up with some louder and prouder materials. In the back it gets a little different, primarily because it's a 2+2. In the middle spot, you've got a cubby hole. Now when it comes to head and leg room, it's on the tight side in both cases, and that's primarily because of the box. Headroom, if you're 6 foot, you're rubbing on the roof lining, and if you've got long legs, there isn't much room under the seat. But you know, the thing that really pees me off about this car the most is the number of warning signs stuck all over the vehicle. It's literally festooned. I know we live in a litigious society, but give me a break. The Baja is powered by Subaru's familiar 2.5-litre single overhead cam boxer engine. Now this 4-banger pumps out a respectable 165 horsepower and 166 pound-feet of torque at 4,000 RPM, and so throttle response is pretty crisp. Part of the attraction for this unusual engine is the way it helps the handling. First, it sits low in the engine bay and so lowers the centre of gravity. Second, it allows the use of equal length drive shafts. This simple fact banishes torque steer from the Baja's balanced repertoire. Elsewhere, the Baja employs 3-point seat belts with pre-tensioners and force limiters, as well as dual front airbags. You know, there's no question the Baja is not going to be everybody's cup of tea. However, for those that want the comfort and convenience of a passenger car and some of the attributes of a pickup, well, the Baja is about the best the market has to offer, because unlike its truck-based competition, namely the Nissan Frontier, it's got ride and handling on its side as well as that all-wheel drive system. About the only thing it needs? Well, a 6-cylinder engine option would be nice.
Our Midas tip of the week concerns protecting an engine that isn't run on a regular basis. Your car or truck that's driven every day doesn't require this protection. It always has a film of lubricating oil on the cylinder wall and piston rings to seal the cylinder, protect it from corrosion and rust. Every time you run the engine, there's a residual film of oil on there. But an engine that's stored, like this motorcycle engine during the off-season, could be your boat engine, snowmobile, snowblower, or chainsaw. You need some extra protection on the cylinder walls to make sure that you don't get corrosion damage. What's involved is what we refer to as fogging the engine. You buy a product like this, you spray it in the air intake of the engine with the engine running, and it loads up the engine with lubricant. You shut it off, then you take out the spark plugs in the engine, spray a little bit of fogging fluid in the spark plug hole, crank the engine over to distribute it, and then you can reinstall the spark plugs. It'll lubricate and protect the cylinder walls until next season. We've also found a secondary use for this product that comes in handy if you're an auto mechanic. If you get an engine that's wet, flooded in the wintertime, and it's washed the lubricant off the cylinder walls, it won't make effective compression. You've got a tough time getting it going. This is what you use in the spark plug holes to get it restarted. Also, an engine with a blown cylinder head gasket that you can't get to fix quickly. You've got liquid in the cylinder. Fogging the engine is a way to protect it until you get to it a couple of days down the road. That's your Midas tip of the week.
Your magazines back, and we're going to do a little bit of self-assessment around it. We have 13 and 14-year-olds in this class. Huge range of dynamics and abilities with these kids. Creative, intelligent, wonderful mix. Good group of kids.
What had to be interspersed throughout your magazine? Justin?
So I had this idea of motivating the students to produce wonderful magazine unit, and really promoted the idea of researching a topic that they really had passion about, and implemented it into my language arts program. And in it were to be included various components: letter to the editor, crosswords, advice columns, and they were going to pick a topic which they had interest in.
What does it encompass? Justin?
It kind of tells about what the editor sees in this topic and where he got the ideas to do what he did for the magazine.
Justin certainly has a passion for cars. I knew that from the beginning of school, and he decided to make his magazine focused on cars.
The Infiniti FX45. It will be a very big hit, and it looks like it will be
I always liked like expensive, fast cars. You know, gotta have the power. So just all the exotic cars. So that's how I came up with the name Exotic Collections, and I thought I should have some commercial things with it and some articles about the displacement of some cars and everything.
There are expectations that have to be met in every grade level, learning various forms of writing and organizing their work. And there's always the focus on the grammar and editing to see that they understand how to compose sentences accurately. So there are a lot of components that had to be met, and he certainly did that.
It was hard work, and he spent a lot of time, and I thought he did a good job with the writing portion of it. That was what I thought he did a really good job on, that he actually wrote the stories, and he didn't copy them from some other magazines, which he could have. He actually wrote the stories himself, which I thought was good.
I realized that all magazines should have advertisements, so I put in an advertisement about Carlos in California. It's a car dealership about exotic cars, and so I made some of that up. I put a few car cleaning things in and some stereo equipment.
I think as Justin gets older, he'll certainly be involved in the field of cars in some capacity, whether it be pursuing a hobby with them. In sales, he's certainly a good salesman. I think he's proved that he has a passion for cars, and I wish him all the best wherever he is. He'll be leaving my class in a week.
No, your eyes are not deceiving you. That's our man in the Quaker State Garage, Bill Gardner, in a classroom. And no, he's not creating a magazine. As we saw a few years ago, every now and then Bill likes to go to class and brush up on the latest technology. But I'm wondering, when Bill was young and in school, if he had dreams of becoming an auto mechanic. How about it, Bill?
Absolutely not, Brad. When I was Justin's age, the only piece of machinery that I was interested in was a motorcycle. Got my first motorcycle, a 50cc Honda, when I was 12 years old. I've owned one ever since. And when I was a kid, when I was his age, my bedroom was in the basement of the house, and I used to bring my motorcycle down a set of stairs that we had going into the basement. I'd work on it during the off season, and when I was all done, I'd bring it into my bedroom and sit it right there beside my bed. Drove my mother crazy, of course, and all my friends kind of got a chuckle out of that, but I just love motorcycles. So here I am at the Toronto Motorcycle Show. Never miss this show. It happens to be the first year at this new venue, the National Trade Center, and it looks like a fabulous show. All the manufacturers are here, lots of accessories as well. And one of the accessories that I stopped to look at is the Iron Horse bike lift. It's a little hoist that picks up a large motorcycle so that you can work on it. And part of the appeal of owning a motorcycle, and what got me started on motorcycles, is how easy they are to tinker with. It's just a pure raw form of machinery. You can look at that piece of machinery and figure out how it's supposed to work. Very easy for the do-it-yourselfer to tinker with. Now with this lift, tinkering with your bike is a whole lot easier. And even if you don't want to work on your bike or tinker with it, if you just want to clean it with this lift, you get it up to a height where you're not stooped over trying to work underneath it. Or if you want to do anything to the wheels and tires, like clean around the spokes or clean the white walls on a touring motorcycle, clean the chain or sprockets, do any kind of work on it, you need a lift like this, because a motorcycle as big as that one that you see on the lift, it's like 850 pounds. And most of those big bikes don't come with a center stand that gets the weight of the bike up off the ground. They've got a side stand, so all the weight is on the tires and the side stand. If you want to do any wheels-free work, you need one of these. So, you know what, I thought maybe I'll pick up one of these bike hoists, and maybe I can change careers and become a motorcycle mechanic, my longtime passion. Get rid of those greasy, dirty, ugly cars. You know, when I first started out, a car was just something to get you around in the wintertime until bike season came around again. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 2003.
In the spring of 2001, Doug Mepham and I drove this car, a 1971 Volvo, in the Targa, Tasmania. This is a 6-day car rally throughout the island of Tasmania. Unbelievable event. Hundreds and hundreds of kilometers of roads that are closed to the public for 4, 5, 6 hours, so lunatics like us can drive as fast as we want to go. Now, on the way back to Melbourne, Australia from Tasmania, Doug and I were thinking, where could you ever do something like that in North America? And we thought, well, if you had an island where you could kind of control things, and if you had a welcoming population, and if they needed a few tourism dollars, that wouldn't hurt. And I thought, Targa, Newfoundland, why not? So I wrote that in the newspaper that I write for. Doug Mepham sent it to a friend of his. 16 months later, here we are, and we have just completed the first Targa, Newfoundland. It's been an absolutely unbelievable event. As you can see from the cars we've got here, the variety is astonishing. Our Volvo, a couple of old Mustangs, Here's a Honda Civic that was dressed up as a street racer. These boyos, local lads, stuffed it into a pole on the first day. Their friends worked all night to get the thing finished, and here they are on George Street with a finishing position. Now, Doug and I have been doing this twice ever. This time we actually managed to win a medal. We're actually 4th overall. We're pretty happy with that. The most amazing thing about this event, though, is the people of Newfoundland. If you've never been to this province, boyo, you're really missing something. To typify the kind of stories we got, I just happened to show up here beside this 1938 Alfa Romeo owned by John Lawson. He came all the way from Australia to run in this event. He blew a piston on the last day of the event, and instead of putting the car in the trailer, he drove it in here on 5 cylinders. Unbelievable. And that's the only word I can use for the Targa Newfoundland. So if you've got a car that's eligible to go rallying, look up the website, targanewfoundland.com. Come and join us here next year. Boyos, you'll be having a fine time too. I'm Jim Kenzie.
You know, the Mitsubishi Lancer is only one of a full lineup of vehicles the company has brought to Canada. But this car is really feeling the pressure because it's expected to make up 40% of the company's sales. Good luck. You know, before we go, I just want to remind you that next week is our 1-hour Car of the Year special. We want to get you involved. So check out our webpage at motoringtv.com or click in tsn.ca and cast your vote on our nominees. While you're at it, email us your choice for overall Car of the Year. And if it matches our selection, you have a chance to win a day at the 2003 AJAC Test Fest. And you'll have access to all the keys for all the brand new models for the year 2004. Well, that's it for now, but we'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
You know, I've been looking forward to this all year long. It's time for Motoring's Car of the Year Extravaganza, where we pick the best of the best for 2003. Right, girls?
Right, Graham.
Not even Bond had it this good.
TSN's Motoring 2003 has been brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil, oils fine-tuned for different engines, and Midas, Total Car Care. We do that.